we were talking about this challenge and the frustration we had, and we kind of like realized that this could be something that could be worth solving. So we just quit our jobs and started the company.
Mobile workforces are becoming a fixture of the modern economy, offering companies and employees great flexibility and cost-saving benefits. But it can create a fractured and disconnected workplace culture. Gaurav Bhattacharya felt this way when he worked at a large tech company in New York. So he left and founded InvolveSoft, which offers companies an Instagram-like platform to bring workers together. On this edition of UpTech Report, we talk with Gaurav about the journey that brought him from selling pencils door to door to founding a startup straight out of high school, and finally to his current position as the CEO of InvolveSoft, where he hopes to build a company into more than just a workplace, but a thriving community. Gaurav, thank you so much for joining me. I'm excited to learn about your journey. First off, let's dig in. What year did you start your company, and how did that begin?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we started the company in 2016. So just September of 2016 was the first day. Just a quick background about me. So I come from a blue-collar family, Alex. I lost my dad to cancer when I was growing up, and my mother used to sell utensils door to door. So just growing up, I had to do odd jobs, and I was selling pens and pencils. But I got really lucky. When I was about 12 years old, I got a chance to learn how to code through a program that Microsoft had, where they would send their engineers to teach kids in the community. So very basic stuff. I started learning how to do C++, but I got addicted with coding. I started learning English at the same time. And when I went to high school for the first time, I met my co-founder, Samya, who's a rock star coder too, and we both became friends. So we both had our first startup right after high school. We actually skipped college. It wasn't a success, but we learned a lot. We made a lot of mistakes, had a lot of fun. We were about 40 people, and we had our company got acquired, made some money, but we got addicted with startups. And after that, we both came to the US. My co-founder did her bachelor's and master's in computer science from a university called,
What year did you move then to California?
Yeah, so I moved in 7 years ago. So it was 2012 when I first came to the US. And I started working for a company called PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers in New York. And my co-founder did her bachelor's and master's in computer science. And she had just started working for Google after her master's. And I was working for PwC, and we both were facing this, kind of like strange issue. Like once you go from a startup to working at a big company, kind of sucks. I don't know if, there's a lot of people who must have seen it. We had a lot of like things that were bothering us. That one of the biggest things that we were frustrated about was just kind of like lack of knowledge, like the lack of knowledge of what's going on in the company, like what are other people working on, what's the CEO's vision. We always felt that we're not aligned with the company's purpose, like we're doing something that doesn't really match up to what the company's doing. And that was a huge problem that was very frustrating for me at my company, and same with my co-founder. So we both were just talking one day, I think it was 2016, and we were meeting up in Santa Monica because we had some common friends here. And we were talking about this challenge and the frustration we had. And we kind of like realized that this could be something that could be worth solving. So we just quit our jobs and started the company. And it was in September 2016. And the basic premise was that we're going to make knowledge available in companies so successfully or so easily that people always feel connected with each other at big companies. Like we didn't know what the core problems were. We didn't know what the features we're going to build, but that's kind of what we wanted to do. And we wanted to build a company alignment platform, and we just started.
Right from there. What I love is any great then product comes from experiencing a pain yourself, that you say, okay, I need to solve this. And you felt it in a large company, that lack of connection to the vision. So then you started on another startup journey with, you say, 16, 17, 3 years ago. Where, that was also in California, started there. VC funded or bootstrap from the beginning? How then did that first origin start of InvolveSoft?
Yeah, great question. So we are VC funded. There's the fund in LA, in Los Angeles, called Mucker Capital. They recently made a lot of news. One of the companies called Honey just got bought by PayPal for 4 billion. But they're very early stage investors, almost like Y Combinator, but they're based in Southern California. So they liked the idea. They wanted to invest in enterprise tech companies, and they kind of liked their vision. So we got some money from them to begin. And then a year ago, we raised a seed round as well of 2.5 million, where market capital came in, but we had some other investors who were some early investors in Uber and Airbnb. Some good investors came in as well. So we have investors like Greycroft Ventures, who are based in New York, but we have some other local LA funds as well.
What industry are you going? Are you going after the enterprise specifically, cross industries? Like, what's the sweet spot that you're looking to serve?
Yeah, Alex, that's a great question again. So, what we're trying to solve for is especially companies that have a mobile workforce. So, mid to large size companies that have people who are distributed, not even sitting behind a computer on their phones. These could be like one of our customers is Waste Connections. So, they have truck drivers, they have trash pickers, people who have restaurant workers or technicians or field salespeople. One of the biggest challenges that they face is there's a lack of a single source of information for them to check out what's going on in the company, to check out like what's going on with their projects, to get the company news, to get information that could be valuable for doing their jobs better, because they're not sitting behind a computer. And at the same time, for leaders, for the C-level executives of these companies, it's hard to get data back from the field because they have multiple tools, they have siloed systems and people. So can we integrate with something like that and basically gather information and serve it to the leadership as well on what's working, what's not working with some of the campaigns, with some of the goals or any friction points that are coming up in the field. So that's that's the problem we're trying to solve for, and it's specifically focused on large companies or mid to large companies that have a lot of distributed workers or deskless workforce, as they call it.
Now, 2 years, a little over 2 years in, do you feel you found product market fit? How many clients do you have so far? How many customers?
Yeah, so we have 200 customers now, and we definitely feel we've found product market fit. Like we're growing in revenue. Like this year, we grew 400%. We've been growing. We're very close to profitable. We have more money than we raised in our bank. So that's something we're
That's
really
always
proud
a
of.
happy
We have
thing.
like, yeah, exactly. Like I was just telling, we were doing a town hall today, and I was saying that we have close to 4 years of runway left, so nothing can kill us but our own stupidity now.
Let's dig into the technology now a bit more. So the base form is it's for the employees to be on there. Describe that, and then the back end of where the real power comes in.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll try to explain it in the simplest of terms. There's a product called Microsoft Sharepoint. I don't know if you've used it, but it's a very popular product. A lot of enterprises use it. It's been around since the 90s, but it has very bad interface. But what we're trying to do is like we're trying to envision that if SharePoint was designed in 2019, how would it look like? So it basically means that it's going to be mobile friendly because for the mobile workforce, but it's also going to be integrated with all the systems you use, so we can pull data. So we can do two things. We can either communicate out to those systems, or we can pull data back from the systems. And the third thing would be, it would be able to use machine learning or AI on the back end to also have smart predictions that could help the leadership. So these are the three core principles that we use. In short, it's a platform where you can go on your phone, you can go on your laptop, quickly see everything from what's going on in the company, any meetings that are coming up, to company news, to acquisition knowledge, to trainings, wikis inside the company. So it's almost like a SharePoint there, but it's definitely with a better interface for the mobile workforce. On the backend side of it, it has two core pieces of technology. One is the top-down communication element, so it can enable the chief operating officer or the chief executive officer of the company to be able to broadcast information out on different channels. So they can send it as a newsletter, they can send text messages at scale, they can post on the platform, but they can also post on, say, Microsoft Teams or Slack or other systems that people use, so as a broadcasting tool.
So it allows it to go out to other platforms that people are already on, whether it's text message or Microsoft or email, newsletters. but also then come back to your
Exactly.
own platform, which is it an app based? Is that how it works for the end employee?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's not a native app. We've built a mobile friendly web-based app, so it's just
Gotcha.
faster deployment. Yeah.
Hmm. Got it. So
Hmm.
the idea is that you can push out to all the different places that your employees may be, but then they can come back to it and check it and scroll through it, um,
Absolutely.
and utilize it. Now, this the artificial intelligence side, the machine learning. Sometimes people
Yeah.
say it's okay, it's marketing speak, but tell me, like, dig into it. What kind of
Yeah.
knowledge and
Mhm.
um, uh, tactical things can people use it for to make
Yeah.
smart decisions?
Great question. And again, I totally agree. There's a lot of buzz going around it. But in core, as you understand AI is nothing but algorithms. And then you have data sets that train the algorithms. So we built our algorithms. We use a company specific data sets to train the algorithms
Hmm.
that can then uncover trends in the company or uncover, basically look at knowledge and then can say like, okay, here's where the gaps are, here's where friction points are, or here's where like problems uncovering that you could look at. So to go deeper, just to go a layer deeper, like some of our companies as a CEO, since we have access to a lot of different channels and basically the company chatter, right, on a public with everything that's open, not personal level conversations, but open conversations, we can look at some of that data, we can mine that, and as a CEO, we can give you a summary saying, here's the top three things that are coming up in your Houston office. Here's the biggest problem that happened last week. Here's like the one of the biggest issues that were solved last week. Here's for the top trends. Here's what people were cheering about, and here's what we recommend you should take as an action. Or here's like a piece of information you can communicate out to your team. That's really powerful. Like as a CEO who's sitting in, who has like 600 offices, if you get a summary of every office every week, that's really powerful information. Does
It's
that make sense?
so it's studying all the interaction and commenting that the employees are doing. So tell me some of the different platforms that it can monitor that you have integrations with so far.
Sure, absolutely. So the biggest one is like we use surveys inside the platform so people can actually comment and give feedback. The second one is Slack and Microsoft Teams. So open channels on Slack, open channels on
Not
Microsoft
private
Teams,
channels. So there's privacy
not
there.
private channel.
Employees
Yeah,
don't have to feel that they're being watched and artificial
absolutely.
intelligence.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
So open channels, we can look at those. And these are the main ones right now. But in the future, we have plans to go into the Microsoft Suite and Google Suite as well.
So what kind of suggestions? Just give me an example. Give me a story here of what it could look like.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll give you an example. Like one of our customers is called Multi-Equip. They are a big IoT company, and I think they have like 500 million in sales. So pretty big, decent size or pretty big company. One of the things that we use them for is like sales alignment. So for them, they use Slack a lot.
Mm.
So they use a lot of comments on Slack. So their salespeople are on Slack channels. They're posting about deals. They're posting about like conversations with customers. So we're able to, for example, go in and listen to that some of that information and say that okay, like this competitor is coming up again and again in conversations. Flag it to the VP of sales and say like, hey, I think one of the things you could do is like check out this competitor and create like a FUD sheet against the competitor. Like a lot of people are struggling when the competitor comes up. People struggle to what to say, what to answer. That how is multi-equip better? That's one example. But then we can
Great.
also look at like how are the salespeople, like there's a lot of specific things that we can go into. Another simple example is like just on a very high level, why is the rep who's doing really well, what do they do different than the others? And then can you communicate some of that learnings that the number one or number two reps have to others? So that's sales alignment. We focus a lot on operational alignment as well, which could be just day-to-day functioning of the business. And then these are the two focus areas. Like we focus on sales alignment and then focus on operational alignment, which could be based on like, a lot of logistics pieces. Like, there's like seems to be logistic issues or training issues or big knowledge gaps that you could address.
Your pricing methodology? Are you pricing per employee, or how does your packages look and work?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And as you know, as a startup, we're always trying to figure out pricing. But when we first started, we were just charging like $100 a year to people, and then we were like, this seems like too cheap. We went to like $500 a year, So we've always been expanding. But now that when we work with mid-sized and large companies, it can, the smallest like company that we serve, we charge 50,000 a year, and then we grow up from there too. So we have some customers who are paying us 200,000, 500,000. We have $1 million customer as well. So it depends. It's a big scale. It usually depends on the number of seats and the depth of use. So what are the use cases they want to use it for? Since we're not an SMB product, it's hard to like make it as easy as, like Amazon Cart, like where you just pick something and you can choose the number of seats and features. I think we're still like trying to get better with that. Like I know Salesforce does it and we can do it too, but we're still trying to figure that out. But in the deal sizes or the customer packages are from 50,000 to 250,000, which are like the most popular ones.
Be sure to watch for part 2 of our conversation with Gaurav Bhattacharya, in which he tells us more about meeting the challenges he faces as an immigrant entrepreneur, the key factors he considers for moving his company forward, and some tips on where to look for new ideas.